What's up, guys? I'm doing a knife review with a comparison to the knife reviews of this. It's the CRKT m21-02g. It's my favorite EDC knife, and it's fantastic. I love this knife. It's awesome. It's really good. And I got the Skyline out just as a comparison knife, just as something to show you, just design what I like, because this is a really popular EDC knife. It's got a huge blade, over 3 inches, just barely over 3 inches. It's got a right around a little bit over 4¼ inch handle, and it's a staple in the EDC market right now. This knife, to me, beats it in more than one way. We're going to start off blade steel. 8CR14 MOV with a titanium nitride finish. Corrosion resistance is what the nitride finish gives it. It's got a different color. It's a gray. It's a really cool color on. It's a really cool color on a knife blade compared to the normal satin finish. This apparently has a light stone wash finish, but it's not apparent just by looking at it. You probably have to get it under a magnifying glass or something to see it, because I don't. They both have spear point blades. This has a slight recurve in it. They're both spear point. This one's sharper. Out of the box, sharper. This is a Sandvik steel. It's a 14C28N steel, which isn't a bad steel. It's got a good sharpness to it, but it's just not as sharp as this. This knife is like hair shaven sharp. I can shave hair off my arms with it if I want to. This knife, I guess if you are a weight person, this knife wins in the weight department simply because it's only 2.3 ounces, which is fantastic for an EDC knife. But to me, it lacks something because of that weight. It doesn't feel like you're holding a knife in your hand. It feels like you're holding a child's play tool or a play knife. It just doesn't feel like you have enough heft in your hand. This knife feels like you're holding a knife. It feels like you have a tool in your hand, and it's capable. It backs up the confidence that it gives you. The liner lock on the CRKT is better. It's got the auto locks feature, which locks that liner in. You can't pull the liner off. The liner can't fail on you without you pulling that auto locks feature and putting it into and disengaging that liner lock, or that auto locks feature to disengage the liner lock. This liner lock on the Skyline's thinner, I think. Let me see. Let me check it out. Yes, it's thinner, and the jimping is about the same. If it's better on one model, it's better on the Carson Design M21. As far as the G10 handles, both of them have good G10 handles. This one's a little grippier, but that might tear up your pocket. This one is grippy enough to stay in your pocket and it won't move around, and it's grippy enough to have good purchase on the knife, and it looks good. It's got that tactical look to it with the skeletonized handles. It just looks like it belongs on a soldier's belt. I mean, it just looks that part. It has that cool ambiance about it. This knife is also cool. It has a really good feel as far as ergonomics go, but weight it's just lacking in my opinion. The pocket clip's a generic run-of-the-mill pocket clip. This pocket clip's not too much better, but it does its job well, and it looks it's just a plain black pocket clip, just fits the design well. This pocket clip is good. The only thing I have bad to say about that is I'm right-handed. I like to carry my knives tip up. If I were to have this tip up, there would be over an inch sticking out. Over an inch of this blade would stick out of my pocket. I've carried it like that. It gets hung on everything. I work inside shipping containers, and I'm in tight quarters, and this gets hung on everything when it's in your pocket and it's sticking out when it's tip up, when the pocket clip is oriented for a tip up carry. This knife is oriented right now in a tip up carry, and it does not get caught on anything. It sits very low in the pocket. I could actually, if I wanted to, I could sit it tip down carry and it would be invisible in my pocket, but I like to carry it tip up, and it's small enough that I'm allowed to do that without this knife getting hooked on stuff. This knife is sharp. It will cut through anything you want to cut through. Granted, it's not going to cut through metal. It's not going to cut through things like that. You know that. But it cuts through wire. It cuts through plastic stripping for containers. It cuts through rope. Anything you need to cut through as far as cordage goes, this thing can pretty much do it. It's a decent blade steel, it really is, and it's sharp out of the box. It's really sharp. It's got good blade control. The ergonomics are good on the handle. It's got this huge, I guess, hand choil is what I would describe it as. And you can hold on to this knife. I mean, you can get your fingers in there. I've got pretty big hands, and you can hold on to this knife, and you feel like you have a knife in your hand, and you can do work with this. I mean, it's a hard use EDC folder. This knife, to me, I've used this knife before. I've rotated this through my weekly rotation, and it's an okay knife, but since getting this knife, I don't rotate anymore. It's sad. Until I find something better, I won't rotate. This knife takes the place of all of my other EDC knives. It's awesome. It's too cool not to carry. The auto locks takes a minute to get used to. I'll take that against it. But if you move this pocket clip to a tip-up orientation, it's a lot easier. And it's a good knife. The flipper design is in the upper echelons of flipper designs. It's a manual opener just like this Kershaw Skyline is, but you can't flip that open without flipping your wrist. And see, even then you still get failed deployments. You have to flip your wrist in order to open that knife up. This knife, I don't have to flip my wrist. It's easy finger deployment. Nothing bad about it. It's also way smoother. It's a really smooth deployment. This knife feels kind of like it's sticking. This knife, there's no stick. There's no stick at all. This knife just excels in the bushing and the bearing and the whatever that is in their department. Also, one thing that it destroys the Kershaw Skyline in is the thumb stud. It has a usable thumb stud. Who would have thought that that would be a good thing to put on a knife, is a usable thumb stud. If you're going to have a thumb stud on the knife, have it usable. If you're not going to have a thumb stud on the knife, which this knife could have went completely without using the thumb stud because it's not usable. I can get the knife out, but I can't deploy it quickly. I mean, I can force that knife out, but it's going to tear up your thumb. That's the only practical way to deploy your knife, is with that flipper. This thing's got a textured thumb stud, and it'll flip it out. I mean, it's good. It'll flip the knife right out, and it's no problem to get the knife out. It's really not. And the auto locks feature, like I said, once you get used to it, it's one hand closing every time, easy. And the Skyline just can't compete. It just can't. And I mean, that's sad. They're both $30 knives, $30.89, $31 after tax. Walmart, eBay. I mean, that's just how the cards fell. $30 a pop, and this knife kills it every time, in my opinion. 3.8 ounces, 2.3 ounces, 1.5 ounce difference. The average guy or girl, whoever's carrying this, is not going to notice it. I've carried both. You don't notice. You got a pair of jeans, pair of cargo pants, pair of good shorts. As long as you're not wearing basketball shorts that the ties are messed up on, you can't tighten them up, you're not going to notice the weight of this knife. You're really not. I swear it to you. So that's it, guys. That's it. The CRKT, my favorite EDC knife, comes out on top, in my honest opinion, over the Kershaw Skyline. Thanks for watching.